Footscray apartment. As Chief of Staff of the Herald and Weekly Times, Peter Blunden oversees Australia's top-selling newspaper, the Herald Sun, and that makes him one of our most influential Melburnians. To find out more about the man Rupert Murdoch labelled one of the best editors in the world, Brett McLeod sat down with Peter Blunden.
It's clear Peter Blunden still loves newspapers, even after 40 years in the business.
Anybody who thinks that it's all over for print needs to go and spend a day down here.
Increasingly, the Herald and Weekly Times empire he oversees, print is being replaced by pixels as we get more of our news online. This was a rare chance to talk about the past and future of news with the most influential newsman in Victoria. What makes a good newspaper in Melbourne?
One that knows its audience, I think. One that's never boring, exciting, element of surprise, bit of light and shade, plenty of sport.
Is there one particular club that sells more papers than another, or is that a bit of an urban myth?
I think any time a Melbourne club wins a premiership, Brett, that's always good news for us. Unfortunately, we've seen too many interstate teams win.
What do you reckon's been the best front page you've had in the time you've been involved?
There have been so many big stories. Unfortunately, the ones that have sold the most newspapers have been the tragedies. September 11 was the biggest story that I've seen. But, you know, stories like Black Saturday, the Bali bombings, there have been a lot of big footy stories. What you'd prefer to do is, I suppose, reflect on things like Cathy Freeman winning gold at the Olympics, or a Melbourne team winning the AFL Grand Final. Our Good Friday appeal and kids, the inspirational stories of kids like Tyler Fishlock. They're the uplifting front pages. Every day is different. You know, it's never boring. Haven't had a boring day yet, and I've probably never seen the perfect newspaper come out yet.
This year marks the 25th anniversary of the Herald and the Sun merging to become one newspaper. But the news world has changed enormously since then. It's facing competitors, many from overseas, who've never even had a print edition.
A lot of these organisations come to town, they don't have big newsrooms, they don't have people that actually have expertise, they don't have people like Terry McCrann and Mark Robinson and Andrew Bolt and people who understand the city and know what people want to read about.
Is it hard if you get a good exclusive these days with the internet? Is it hard to sit on that and say, no, we'll hold that for tomorrow's paper?
Generally speaking, we try to put it straight online if we break a great story. But we also try to ensure that we've got plenty of fresh material to start the day for the newspaper and set the agenda. That's a big part of what we do. The last thing we want to do is put out a paper that everybody knew about that before they got up.
Do you reckon in 10 years we'll still be buying newspapers, hard copy newspapers?
I believe it will. I really do think there's a place, and I think it's stabilising in a big way. I think it just has to learn how to coexist with the other ways of telling stories.
You work for the most famous media proprietor in the world, one of the most influential men in the world. What's it like when you get a call from Rupert Murdoch?
Oh, it's always pleasant. I look forward to it. I suppose having worked for him for nearly 40 years now, got to know him very, very well. Great operator, very inspirational, extremely supportive of journalism and journalists and staff and gets it.
A tough taskmaster?
As he should be, as he should be. We're tough on ourselves. We understand completely that it's really hard work in such a competitive field to do well.
Before Peter Blunden finishes running a newspaper, what's the one headline you'd like to see?
Oh, good question. Tigers roar, hopefully in 2015.
Fingers crossed.
Good on you, Brett.
Well, beneath the surface of